Greetings, eco-nerdlings. In this podcast, we're going to be discussing non-renewable resources and the different types of mining. So just what are non-renewable resources? Well, by definition, non-renewable resources are things humans use that have a limited supply. They can't be regrown or replenished by man. Only natural processes can replenish those non-renewable resources. So what are some of the specific resources and their uses that we are employing? So coal, this is something that everybody has probably heard or knows about. It's formed from ancient peat bogs or swamps that were under pressure as they were covered. Coal is used for electricity, heat, steel production, exports, and industry, and it contributes to the greenhouse gas effect. There are 4 types of coal that exist. We have lignite, which is soft, and it's used for electricity. We have bituminous and subbituminous, which are harder, and they're also used for electricity. And then we have anthracite, which is the hardest and it's used for heating. 50% of all coal is in the United States, the former Soviet Union, and China. So we also have limestone that we use as one of our non-renewable resources. It's abundant locally and it's formed from layers of seashells and organisms under pressure as they were covered. We use this in sidewalks, fertilizers, plastics, carpets, and more, like chalk. Lead is also something that we use. It's used in batteries as well as cars. Clay is something that we use a lot. It's used to make books, magazines, bricks, and linoleum. And gold, of course, we use gold as a money currency and we use it for jewelry, but it's also used in the manufacturing of electronics such as computer circuit boards, as well as medical supplies such as lasers and cauterizing agents. So in Texas, which is where we live, or at least where I live right now, in Central Texas, we have limestone, tin, clay, lead, and garnets, as well as freshwater pearls, amethysts, and calcium carbonate. So these are some of the things that we have around Texas that are non-renewable resources that we are mining or harvesting. In the West, we have talc, mercury, silver, petroleum, and sulfur. In East Texas, we have lignite, coal, and petroleum. In South Texas, we have lignite coal, petroleum, uranium, and limestone. And in northern Texas, we have helium, uranium, petroleum, bituminous coal. Around the United States as a whole, in central United States, we have diamonds, and in Arkansas, we have bituminous coal. In western United States, we harvest bituminous and subbituminous coal, as well as gold, silver, and copper. In east United States, we have anthracite coal and bituminous coal. In the southern United States, we have some gold in South Carolina, and then we have bituminous coal. And then in the northern United States, we have bituminous coal and some gold. So conservation, how are we going to conserve these non-renewable resources? Well, by definition, conservation is using less of that resource or reusing a resource. For example, refilling plastic laundry jugs, reusing plastic bags. We can reuse containers, like I've talked about before, butter containers. We can reuse water bottles, and we can, refurbish them or reuse them in a different way. That's definitely a part of the solution is conservation. Problems with conservation are that a lot of times they require a change in our behavior or our purchasing. And that's something that a lot of people don't want to give up. They like the excess of living in America. They like having what they want, when they want, how they want it. Restoration, by definition, this is recycling of our resources. For example, aluminum, glass, tin, steel, and many types of plastics. Again, part of the solution, but there are problems with recycling, and we spoke about that earlier with our waste podcast, that recycling actually does use energy, and it actually does produce pollution when we're recycling. Often the costs are more than actually using the raw material itself, and we don't have the technology to recycle everything. And then sustainability. Well, sustainability is basically a prediction of how long specific resources are going to last. So for example, it's predicted that we have about 200 years supply of coal in the United States. Knowing how much we can sustain or knowing the sustainability helps people make decisions in resource use, and it helps them kind of figure out where we need to go in the future. And problems are that these are only predictions, and they may not be completely accurate. So what are some of the environmental effects of using mineral resources? Well, the extraction process of all of these mineral resources, as well as the processing and the transportation, is very detrimental to the environment. So first of all, we have surface mining. We might be mining metal ore. The ore gets separated out into all of its different components. And then what occurs is smelting. So basically melting it. We're melting the metal, and then we have the conversion process where we're converting all of those materials into something we're going to use, such as a car. And then eventually we're going to discard the car. Sometimes it just goes into a landfill, a dump, or we can actually recycle it, goes back into the smelting process, and turn into something else. So we have natural capital degradation. So basically what's going on with the extracting, the processing, and using of non-renewable mineral and energy resources? What's happening, and what are some of the effects that are going on whenever we're using it? So first of all, we have mining and exploration as well as the extraction process. So this is, basically exploring, we're digging, we're extracting different types of non-renewable resources. Some of the environmental effects of that are obviously we're going to disturb the land. There are mining accidents which can contaminate land, water. They can kill people if there's some type of explosion or materials that fall on top of somebody. There are health hazards, mine waste dumping, oil spills and blowouts, and we also have noise pollution as well as just ugliness of the site itself, and it produces heat. As far as processing goes, we have transportation, purification, and manufacturing of that resource. And all of that creates solid wastes. A lot of those are radioactive. We have air, water, soil, and noise pollution that occur. Obviously, there are safety and health hazards that go into this, as well as just eyesores, again, and heat is also released. And then as far as the actual use of the resource itself, we have transportation or transmission to the individual users themselves, and then eventual use, and then eventually we discard it. So what happens as far as the environmental effects of that? Well, we have, again, noise, again, eyesores, ugliness, thermal water pollution, pollution of air, water, and soil. We have solid and radioactive wastes that are produced, and it also causes safety and health hazards, as well as producing heat. So what are some of the costs? Well, we have ownership costs, which are the equipment, the labor, the safety, which includes paying insurance. We have environmental costs. We have reclamation, pollution control, air monitors, water treatment. These are all different costs that go into extracting those non-renewable resources, as well as taxes. So what are some of the external costs? Well, external costs include processing the resource, transporting the resource. And then we have marginal costs, which include researching the products, where might we find more of it, what are some different ways that we have in actually extracting it. And some type of research actually goes into, how can we extract this with, less destruction to the environment. So what are some of the benefits of non-renewable resources, extracting them? Well, we have direct benefits, which include money received for the resources, and it does provide many jobs for people. And we have indirect benefits, which include land that can be reclaimed, meaning that it can be brought back to the original condition, or it can also be sold for profit. So, environmental effects of using those mineral resources. Well, minerals are removed through a variety of methods that vary widely in their costs, safety factors, as well as their level of environmental harm. And a variety of methods are employed based on mineral depth. So we have surface mining, and then we have subsurface mining. Surface mining are when we're mining for shallow deposits that are going to be removed. Subsurface mining is when we have deep deposits that are removed. So what are some of the methods that are employed? Well, for surface mining, if a resource is less than 200 feet from the surface, the topsoil is removed, it's actually saved. Explosives are typically used to actually break up the rocks and to remove the resource itself. And then reclamation follows. The benefits of surface mining are that it's cheap, it's easy, and it's efficient. Costs are that it tears up the land, which is only temporarily. Byproducts that are produced can be acid, and it can accumulate into the rivers and lakes and start to pollute the water sources. So underground mining, a description for this is that we dig a shaft down to the resource using machinery as well as people, and then we tear off and remove the resource itself. Benefits, again, we can get to resources that are very far underground. The costs are that it's much more expensive to remove these resources, and it's more time consuming as well as dangerous. So when I use the word reclamation, what exactly does that mean? Well, it means returning the rock layer overburden and the topsoil to the surface mine, fertilizing it and planting it with trees, grasses, basically whatever was the natural shrubbery or plant life that was there before all of the mining occurred. Benefits are that it does restore land to a good condition, but it is costly. I mean, it is expensive to fertilize and to replace all of the soil and to plant new trees and shrubs and grasses that were once there before. We also have open pit mining. This is when machines dig holes and they remove ores, sand, gravel, as well as stone. It can be very toxic to the groundwater and it can accumulate at the bottom. We have area strip mining. These are when earth movers strip away the overburden or all of the soil on top, and then giant shovels remove the mineral deposits. It leaves a lot of high erodible hills of rubble called spoil banks. So as you can see here, pretty big eyesores too. I mean, you know, it's kind of an ugly looking terrain. And then we have contour strip mining. This is used on hilly or mountainous terrains. If you've ever driven a long time on I-10, kind of going out of Texas, once you get past San Antonio, you can actually see some of this. And then unless the land is restored, a wall of dirt is basically left in front of a highly erodible bank called a high wall. And you do see these, like you can actually see all of the different layers of earth and stuff whenever they've chopped away at it. We also have mountaintop removal. This is when machinery removes the tops of mountains to expose coal. And then the resulting waste rock and dirt are dumped into streams and valleys below. So we have our open pit mining. We have dredging, which is when we're actually dredging up the bottom of the ocean floor. We have area strip mining right here. And then we have contour strip mining down here. So what are some solutions to sustaining and using our non-renewable mineral resources? Well, first of all, let's not waste those resources. We can recycle and reuse 60 to 80% of the mineral resources. We can include the harmful environmental costs of mining and processing minerals in the prices of the items, meaning full cost pricing. We can reduce the subsidies for mining mineral resources, meaning let's not give people extra money for mining for those minerals and destroying the environment. We can actually increase subsidies for recycling, reuse, and finding less environmentally harmful substitutes. We can redesign manufacturing processes to use less mineral resources and to produce less pollution and waste. We can have the mineral-based wastes of one manufacturing process become the raw materials for another process. And we can sell services instead of things. And we can also help by slowing population growth, which goes into a whole another ballpark, a whole another unit of human populations. Well, I hope this was beneficial and you guys learned a little bit about non-renewable mineral resources. If you need to rewatch this video or any others for AP Environmental Science, you can find them on my website at www.nerdlingscience.com. Well, this is the Queen Nerdling signing off for now. Stay nerdy till next time.